Throughout my professional career, I came across multiple people and organizations who were trying to understand how to start their analytics journey. There were questions around, is this the right time? Do I have the required skills? And quite a few questions on how will I do this? This observation directed me to come up with the 3D analytics framework. The three dimensions and the 14 elements under them will guide us on three things: how to think analytics, how to do analytics, and how to present analytics. So let us start right away and go deeper into the first dimension. There are four elements in this dimension: objective setting, analytics readiness, data and governance, cost appetite. It helps us understand who we are and what we are trying to achieve. Every organization will be at different levels of maturity in each of these elements. Some might be making a beginning, and some might have mastered the art. The first step, therefore, is for us to find out at what stage of maturity our organization is in. This is important because when we move to the second dimension of doing analytics, we have to pick and choose our techniques and approach based on how mature our organization is. To get a rough estimate on the organization maturity, there is a small questionnaire with 5 questions for each of the elements in the upcoming slides. This is our first element, objective setting. There are 5 questions which can indicate how well organizations are able to set goals or objectives. Are they reasonable in their expectations? Are they communicating effectively with employees? And are they evaluating themselves continuously and moving forward? Pause the video here and check how many of these statements are true for your organization. Give yourself 1 point for every tick, and then we will move to the next element. This is the second element, analytics readiness. Here we are looking at how matured is our organization to understand the benefits of data and analytics. When we refer to organization, we are basically looking at the people, right from individual contributors to managers to leaders. It is important for each one of these stakeholders to know the benefits, boundaries, and limitations of this subject. It is only then they would be able to apply the subject wisely. Pause again and check on how many points you will give to your organization on this element. Moving on to the third element, data and governance are the lifelines of analytics. No data means no analytics, and incorrect data can result in misleading conclusions. Garbage in, garbage out. There is no shortcut, and this element is the oxygen provider. How much progress has your organization made in this matter? Go ahead, give your ticks, and count the points. Coming to the last element in this dimension, while we may have all the right intentions, the openness to invest in an analytics solution in line with our needs is important. We can't expect an aircraft at the cost of a car. It is important to be aware of the financial needs, be open to spend, and actually spend it at the right time. As before, check out your points for this element. Now, you will have points for each of the 4 elements in the first dimension. Add it up to get your total points and correlate that to the table in this slide. This gives you an approximate indication of the overall state of your organization on matters related to analytics. If your score is between 5 and 8, your organization is at an exploratory stage. And an organization whose score is between 13 and 16 is at an integrated stage. There is an indicative description on what each of these stages mean for your reference to. While this tells us who we are, it is important for us to know what our expectations are from the analytics solution. Let us look at that in the next slide. Irrespective of the maturity level of the organization, one is free to have ambitious needs. From an analytics perspective, the complexity of the ask can be as simple as basic reports of what happened to advanced needs like trying to model to see what can work best and looking for recommendations which can help make decisions. Take a look at this slide and try to get an indication of the kind of needs your organization has. Are you looking for descriptive analytics or diagnostic or predictive or prescriptive analytics? Now you have two data points with you: overall maturity stage of your organization from the previous slide and the complexity of your needs from the current slide. With this in mind, let us move to the next slide. Let us plot our needs on x-axis and the organization maturity on y-axis and see where the 2 points meet in this table. If you are an organization who is in ad hoc stage, it will be good for you to start with descriptive analytics and gradually move to the next levels of complexity. On the other hand, if you are an organization at strategic stage and are only using data for descriptive and diagnostic analysis, know that you are ready and you have a lot of scope to use data and analytics more meaningfully. If we look at this very closely, it is very unlikely to have an organization at a strategic level and who are yet to start their analytics journey. The very fact that they are at a strategic stage is only because they would have already started their journey. This concludes our first dimension of internal ecosystem, where we understand who we are and what we want clearly. Through this journey, we are trying to develop an analytics mindset which prepares us to make progress gradually. Now, let us move to the second dimension of the framework where we talk about doing analytics. This requires some skills and competencies, and one should be aware of what methods and techniques they have to use in order to achieve their objective. Here comes the sciences behind doing analytics. I have called it deep skills. There are four important elements in this dimension: statistics, psychology, market intelligence, and technology. After an analyst understands the nature of the organization and their wants in the first dimension, he or she will now start thinking what methods and techniques can be applied and what should be the dosage or quantum of its application. The next couple of slides will guide us on this. In simple words, statistics is a mathematical tool that deals with numerical values recorded against certain variables. These numbers are studied and summarized to get some insights and inferences. The beauty of this subject is in the limitless techniques and methodologies that can be combined and applied. Some of the generally used techniques are shown in this slide. These are indicators only. At the simplest level, we generally start with basic operations like mean, median, and mode, and at higher levels, techniques like simulation, forecasting, etc. will be introduced. The science of statistics is to know the available techniques well, and the art is in using the right quantity at the right time. Moving to the next element in this dimension, psychology plays a significant role in analytics as it touches people's mind in one way or the other. We will be looking at people's data, or the users of the analytic solution are people, and it is important for an analyst to know the audience and accordingly present their analysis. There are tons of theories, and this subject is a fertile ground for research. For us in analytics, starting from how the information is absorbed and perceived to how it is used to influence others' thoughts, every learning becomes relevant to understand human emotions. Different approaches can be used for different needs. While one may start with gut feel, they graduate towards using popular studies, behavioral sciences, and even coming up with their own experiments based on their needs. While most of the things we saw until now was inward looking, this slide brings our attention to the importance of understanding our outside environment. Market intelligence is all about relevant information one should be aware of beyond the boundaries of the organization, like information with respect to customers, competitors, products, innovations, etc. Irrespective of whether we are looking at descriptive, diagnostic, predictive, or prescriptive analytics, one can choose any approach for intelligence collection. Surveys, focus group discussions, and personal interviews are primary data sources as we collect it ourselves. Ready to use market reports are secondary in nature. Once companies get a hang of it, they even design their own lab and field experiments to create data. You might recollect we spoke about simulation in statistics and experimental approach under psychology. One can combine all these sciences and come up with experiments which works for them. Technology, the enabler. By now, it is obvious that it is not easy to do analytics on paper, especially when we know there is a way to reduce time and effort. Our journey can always start with Microsoft Excel and Google Sheets and advance as our needs become more and more complex and requires additional help. There are tons of options and new tools are coming up almost on a daily basis. One will need both software and hardware solutions. The choices we make mostly depends on our needs and how well we understand and how well we can use the tools available. As we come to the end of second dimension, one can understand that the elements in the first and second dimension are interrelated. Let us say there is an organization which is able to set its objectives very clearly. They have a good understanding of analytics and how it can be used meaningfully. They have all the data in place and is ready to invest the right amount of money. This is like giving a free license to an analyst to use the most advanced statistical techniques, experiment with different ideas, and if they are supported by technology too, they have all the ingredients to design and implement a successful analytics solution. Once we do all the hard work of analyzing data, it is equally important to present it in the most simple and easy to understand manner. Here comes our third dimension of presenting analytics. This is the outcome or end result of the work done until now. In this dimension of presenting analytics, how we divide the content is the key here. One can choose any approach that works for them. I have proposed a plan which structures the dashboards based on two things. Who will be using the dashboard and what is it meant to support? There are four functional dashboards which are used to present our analysis, two hygiene dashboards which are meant to question the worthiness of our analytic solution itself. Let us look at each one of these dashboards closely now. Raw data reports is the most simplest of all the dashboards and can be found in every visualization tool available in the market. One has to only decide on what they need as rows and columns. It can be line by line pure data or in a simple summary format like what we see in pivot tables. These are not very supportive to draw insights and inferences, but if there is an observation, one can use these dashboards to drill down and find the exact point of impact. Visuals and trends dashboards are more structured and optical. While the basic charts come by default in most tools, some softwares allow the user to create their own visuals too. One can easily get a quick glance of the past, current, and also do some bit of extrapolation. This is where the dashboards become interesting. It is imperative for every organization to make plans and take decisions throughout their life. Plans and decisions are the outcomes following close observations of data. Imagine if all these data points are provided in one single window. That becomes our planning and decision dashboard. It is natural to expect a result for the actions organizations or individuals have taken. Once we know what defines success for the actions taken, this dashboard comes handy to tell us whether we met our intended goal or not. Feedback is whether the result is positive or negative, and the impact tells us the degree of positivity or negativity. I call this feedback and impact monitor. This completes the four functional dashboards, which is addressing the need to present the analysis done by an analyst. We will now move to the hygiene dashboards. One question that I have frequently come across is, can we quantify how good or bad our data is? Is it reliable and is it of good quality is the biggest question here. We know very well that all the hard work of doing analytics goes for a toss if we realize that the data is bad. This dashboard is analyst's best friend and keeps him or her informed on the data quality issues. Once known, half the battle is won, and one can focus on how to set it right. Data quality and process adherence dashboards go hand in hand. If there are process gaps, It can result in bad data collection, which leads to subsequent challenges. It is also an excellent way to audit and keep a check on non-adherence of processes defined. With the 6 kinds of dashboards, one would have more or less addressed every need in the organization. I would suggest you make a quick table with focus areas as rows and 6 dashboard types as columns. Start filling the boxes with the dashboard that you want to provide. For example, in sales and marketing teams, one can look at customer attraction and retention in visuals and trends dashboard, impact of advertising campaign in feedback and impact monitor dashboard, and demand forecasting under planning and decision dashboards. This concludes the third dimension and the 14th element. We have come to the end of this video to understand 3D analytics framework. All in all, when we bring all the dimensions and elements together into one frame, this is the way it looks. It is an empty canvas at the beginning. Use this framework as a template and a guide. Go ahead and use your creativity to design your solution. And before I end this video, I have explained the framework and lot more details in my book Analytics Demystified. I call it a non-technical storybook on analytics and mostly aimed for beginners and students. The book contains 86 pictures, 12 box stories, and tons of anecdotes. It is available on all major e-commerce sites in the world. If you decide to buy, thank you and happy reading.